At the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo, Japan, Mondo Duplantis, fifth Kipyegon, and Ryan Crouser all won gold medals in their respective events. Now, on the surface, this really isn't that much of a surprise considering each of them have solidified themselves as the GOAT of their events. Kipyegon in the 15, Ryan Crouser in the shot put, and of course, Mondo Duplantis in the pole vault. But what each of them specifically did was win an unprecedented 5 consecutive gold medals at 5 consecutive global championships in 5 consecutive years. Now, this didn't get too much highlight specifically because the way they obtained the golds were kind of the result of unique circumstances in track and field. Let me explain. For almost 100 years since the first Olympic Games in 1896, the only truly global championships in track and field was the Olympics held every 4 years. There were the regional championships such as Pan American Games, European Championships, or Commonwealth Games, but those were not really inclusive of all the best athletes from every country in the world. In 1983, the IAAF, now known as World Athletics, they held their first World Championships, which would also be held every 4 years, but in the year prior to the Olympic Games. This would be another opportunity for literally all the best athletes in the world to compete at a global championships in the sport. Now, this structure existed throughout the 1980s with the Worlds and Olympics from 83 and 84, as well as from 87 and 88 being hosted and essentially being the norm. But in the early 90s, the model once again shifted, this time moving the World Championships to be held every 2 years, effectively creating what we now call today as the Olympic cycle in track and field. And this cycle includes 1 Olympic Games, 2 World Championships, and what we call, quote, an off year. So, for example, if we go back to 2011, the World Championships were held in Daegu, South Korea that year. In 2012, we saw the Olympic Games held in London, England, while in 2013, the World Championships were held in Moscow, Russia. Finally, the cycle ended with a quote-unquote off year in 2014 with no global championships occurring, which would then lead to the start of a new Olympic cycle from 2015 all the way to 2018. Now, this structure remained the norm once again up until 2020, right in the middle of that traditional cycle, when a global pandemic basically shut the world down at the start of the year and caused everything to not only be halted, but completely shifted when it came to track and field championships. The Tokyo Olympic Games were scheduled to kick off in July of 2020, but with the world shut down, the IOC announced that the games would be rescheduled to the summer of 2021. This led to World Athletics announcing that the World Championships, originally scheduled for the summer of 2021 in Eugene, would now be moved to July of 2022 so as to not conflict with the Tokyo Olympic Games. And because 2022 was supposed to be, again, a quote-unquote off year, and the subsequent championships from 2023 all the way to 2025 were already scheduled and would not be moved, this created an unprecedented sequence of global championships that had never been seen before in the history of track and field. The Tokyo Olympic Games would be held in the summer of 2021. The 2022 World Championships would follow in Eugene, Oregon. The 2023 World Championships would then be held in Budapest, Hungary. The 2024 Olympics would go down in Paris, France. Then finally, and most recently, the 2025 World Champs would once again be held in Tokyo, Japan. So, as I said at the top, Mondo, Faith, and Ryan were the only athletes to successfully win all 5 gold medals at these championships. But I wanted to actually take a look at not only what made these 3 so special, but also discuss some of the athletes that were on pace for 5 gold medals, but dropped off at some point during the cycle. Before we actually do that, let's take a look back at some of the previous traditional Olympic cycles and some of the athletes who also won consecutive medals in their respective events. But if you like these kind of videos and stories and would like more track content like this, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and consider leaving a comment, as it truly does help me out and allows this channel to grow so we can, of course, again, get these stories to more people, to learn about our sport. Now, if we take a look back through history, there's a few athletes who have actually won individual medals of any color at 3 consecutive championships, the quote-unquote usual Olympic cycle. For example, Sally Pearson from Australia in the 100 hurdles from 2011 to 2013, Will Clay from the United States in the triple jump, also from 2011 to 2013. You also have Donovan Bailey from Canada in the 100 from 1995 to 1997, and also Almaz Ayana from Ethiopia in the 5000 from 2015 to 2017. Now, these athletes may have medals of another color from different years as well, even maybe different events, but this is just 3 consecutive medals in a traditional Olympic cycle in our sport. But if we go a step further, we can find athletes who are able to cross cycles and win more than 3 consecutive medals in an individual event. So, for example, David Stroll from Germany in the shot put, he won medals from 2011 to 2015. Lashinda Demas from the United States in the 400 hurdles, she won medals from 2009 to 2013. Sandra Elkajic from Croatia in the discus from 2012 to 2019. Veronica Campbell-Brown from Jamaica in the 200 from 2007 to 2011. Even Javier Sotomayor from Cuba in the high jump from 1992 all the way to 1997. Now, again, they may have won medals in other years or even other events, but looking at back-to-back championships, including crossing over the off year, these athletes were able to win multiple consecutive medals in an individual event. Now, if we go up another level, there's a few athletes who have won 3 consecutive gold medals. This includes a few different names, but some examples are Wade Van Niekerk in the 400, you have Dwight Phillips in the long jump, Stacy Dragila in the pole vault, you also have Kathy Freeman in the 400, Katerina Ibarguen in the triple jump. This is winning 3 consecutive gold medals in a single World Olympic World Championship cycle, or in the case of Kathy Freeman as well as Ibarguen, crossing a championship cycle. But finally, we get to the cream of the crop of athletes who have won 4 or more consecutive gold medals across multiple championship cycles. And this includes some names like Valerie Adams in the shot put, Usain Bolt in the 200, Anita Vidalchik in the hammer throw, Ezekiel Kemboy in the steeplechase, Maurice Green in the 100, Ashton Ian in the decathlon, Brittany Reese in the long jump, Kenenisa Bekele in the 10,000, Yelena Isabaeva in the pole vault, Michael Johnson in the 400, Ivan Projoso in the long jump, among a ton of other names throughout history as well. So now we get to the present day where 2021 to 25 saw 5 consecutive global championships with no off year, meaning no opportunity to rest and recover, regroup and refocus, just straight through year after year, championship after championship. Now, though Mondo, Faith, and Ryan were the 3 who successfully won 5 golds, there were a few athletes at the start of the sequence who many probably saw as contenders to actually win all 5. Starting after the 2020 Olympics and the 2022 Eugene World Championships, we saw the following athletes had won 2 consecutive gold medals, and many did see them in contention to possibly win gold medals over the next 3 championships in 23, 24, and 25. Now, not to say it would be easy, but many people possibly did consider them. Now, the following year at the 2023 World Championships in Budapest, there were a few athletes who unfortunately were unable to actually continue their streak. Malaika Mihambo, Pedro Pichardo, and Nafi Thiam, they all got injured and did not compete at the World Championships that year. Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, she had switched events to the 400, but unfortunately also got injured and was unable to compete at Worlds. Shauna Miller-Weibo gave birth to her child early in 2023, and though she did compete in Budapest, she was unable to advance past the 400-meter rounds. Finally, Mutaz Essa-Barshim as well as Athing Mo, they finished 3rd in the high jump and 800 respectively at the Budapest World Championships. So that left us with 6 athletes who had won 3 consecutive gold medals and kept their streak alive from 2021, 22, and 2023. Soufiane El Bakkali in the steeplechase, Mondo Duplantis in the pole vault, Ryan Crouser in the shot put, Faith Kipyegon in the 15, Katie Moon in the pole vault, and of course, Yulimar Rojas in the triple jump. Now, in 2024, unfortunately, there were 2 other athletes who were unable to continue their gold medal streaks. Yulimar Rojas picked up an injury and had to sit out all of 2024, unfortunately missing the Olympic Games. Katie Moon actually did compete in Paris, but she unfortunately finished in 2nd place, earning the silver medal in the pole vault. So that left us with 4 remaining gold medal winners: Soufiane El Bakkali, Mondo Duplantis, Faith Kipyegon, as well as Ryan Crouser. So now, most recently, in 2025 in Tokyo, the last casualty was El Bakkali, who unfortunately just missed out on a gold medal in the steeplechase by 0.07 of a second, having to settle for the silver medal, which left us with the 3 in Mondo, Faith, and Ryan Crouser, who went on to win 5 gold medals. And I just want to quickly break down and kind of understand how these 3 successfully pulled off that feat of 5 gold medals. First off, Mondo, he was probably the most likely of them all to actually achieve the golds, as he had been breaking the pole vault world record multiple times before the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, and though he only won the silver medal in 2019 at the World Champs, he had essentially built up a gap in talent that literally no other athlete in this current generation was able to compete with, again, prior to the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games. From 2021 to 2024, Mondo basically faced no real challenge when it came to securing his gold medal at the championships, but he arguably faced his toughest competition in 2025 in the form of Corrales from Greece, who jumped 6.08 meters, which is the highest non-Mondo jump since the former world record set by Le Villeneuve all the way back in 2014. But at the 2025 Tokyo World Championships, Mondo jumped a world record of 6.30 meters, which essentially was just confirmation of his dominance over the past 5 years. Now, moving over to Faith Kipyegon, who also was seen a contender for consecutive golds, considering she was the defending Olympic champion in 2016 and the world champion from 2017, she arguably had a little bit tougher of a challenge because in 2019 at the World Champs, she actually won the silver medal after taking the prior year off to give birth to her child. And so she was facing tough competition entering that 2021 Olympic year. Safana San, who actually beat Kipyegon at the 2019 World Champs, not only had that world gold, but also was the 6th fastest woman of all time in the 1500 meters prior to the Tokyo Olympic Games, and she set the world record in the 1 mile as well. Add to that, Gudaf Sagai, who won the bronze in 2019, had moved herself up to 8th fastest all time after she set the world indoor record at the top of 2021. But as the season unfolded, Faith would not only surpass Hassan and Gudaf in terms of the times, but would also win the Olympic gold in Tokyo, which would be the first step before winning the 4 remaining golds and essentially solidifying herself as the GOAT of the 1500 meters. And over the course of the 5 years, I guess there may have been certain points where the track world maybe thought someone could possibly challenge Faith. I don't know. There was points there where Gudaf was running really fast times and she was really open to just taking things out hard in various different races. But by the time Faith had run 350 at the end of 2022 and then ran the world record of 349 prior to the 2023 World Champs, any real discussions of her getting beat were honestly just dreams at that point. Finally, Ryan Crouser in the shot put. Basically, he had probably had the most rocky path towards winning those 5 gold medals. Similar to Faith, Ryan was maybe not the absolute favorite entering the Tokyo Olympic Games in 2021. Though he was the defending Olympic champion from Rio 2016, he actually failed to medal at the Worlds in 2017 and then finished 2nd place in 2019. That World Championship competition in Doha, though, was arguably one of, if not the greatest shot put competition in the history of the event up to that point. Joe Kovas, Ryan Crouser, and Tom Walsh were all separated by 1 centimeter for the gold, silver, and bronze, all throwing personal bests and all-time marks to secure their spot. But at the top of the year, Ryan Crouser broke the world indoor record in the shot put, and then later, outdoors, he broke the 30-year-old world record with his mark of 23.37 meters. And at that point, it was all but guaranteed that he would win the Olympic Games in Tokyo, which he did, once again with another 23-meter throw. Now, after winning gold in 2022, again, 2023 was a very interesting year as Joe Kovas had essentially responded to what Crouser was doing and had thrown 23.23 meters, actually beating Crouser at the Zurich Diamond League final at the end of 2022. Additionally, 2 weeks before the Budapest World Championships, Ryan Crouser developed blood clots in his legs and left questions initially on his ability to even travel to the World Champs, and then later on his ability to actually compete properly at those World Championships. But after a relatively tentative qualifying round, Crouser blasted out to a championship record in the final, and 3 of his 4 legal throws were also good enough to win the competition outright. But after winning his 4th gold medal at the 2024 Paris Olympics, the 2025 season was probably the absolute toughest for Crouser. After once again losing to Joe Kovas at the 2024 Diamond League final, Crouser picked up an elbow injury which really kept him out literally for the entire 2025 season. Luckily, he was the defending world champion, so he didn't have to compete at USA's, and Worlds was scheduled for September, so he had enough time throughout the year to rest, recover, and prepare to possibly win his 5th gold medal. Also really beneficial was the loss of Joe Kovas, who failed to qualify for Worlds after a 4th place finish at USA's, meaning this would be the first time that Kovas would not be on the world or Olympic podium since 2013, which was his first year as a pro. Again, Talk about consecutive medal streaks. But at the Tokyo World Championships, Crouser found a way like he had done in the past so many times and secured gold with a best of 22.34 meters in the final. Not a massive mark, but that solidified his 5 consecutive gold medals. So after these 3 though, I do want to give a shout out to some of the athletes who weren't able to win 5 golds, but were still able to win 5 consecutive medals of any color, again, from 2021 all the way to 2025. Noah Lyles in the 200, Ryan Benjamin in the 400 hurdles, Sufene El-Bakali in the steeplechase, Katie Moon in the pole vault, Marley Paulino in the 400, Keely Hodgkinson in the 800, Femke Bol in the 400 hurdles, Yaroslava Mohuchik in the high jump, as well as Valerie Allman in the discus throw. And just for some context, I was looking back at this list of athletes who all had won medals after the 2023 World Championships. Looking at these names, you probably would have guessed that many of them would still go on to win medals of some color in 2024 and 2025, but unfortunately were unable to actually pull it off. Now, one thing many of you might ask is, what about the Ultimate Championships in 2026? Doesn't that actually count? Well, unfortunately, in my opinion, that may never hold the same weight or be looked at with the same level of importance for athletes as the Olympics or the World Championships. Why? Well, the way World Athletics is kind of rolling out this Ultimate Championships is that we're going to see it occur every 2 years in September. So yes, they have one for September 2026, but they're already looking for cities to host the meet in 2028 after the Olympic Games in Los Angeles that year. Also, it's a completely different format of meet relative to Worlds or Olympics, so with many events that are part of track and field not even on the schedule, and there's just a shorter schedule in general. So I simply don't think it will ever be viewed in the same light as a true global championships as we understand it today with the Worlds and the Olympics. So as of now, Mondo Duplantis, Faith Kipyegon, and Ryan Crouser have essentially done what no other athlete in history has been able to do, winning 5 consecutive gold medals at 5 consecutive global championships. And considering the special circumstances that led to this kind of unique schedule, we may never see a feat like this ever accomplished again. Go ahead and comment below what you think about these past 5 global championships, with Faith and, Ryan and Mondo winning the gold medals, and which athletes do you think are, might be poised to win 3 gold medals at the next Olympic cycle from 2027 to 2028 to 2029. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Truly do appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching.